I'd like to call to order
Years ago?
July 10th, 2018 Planning Board meeting. The first thing on our agenda is the minutes from June 26th.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of the minutes of June 26, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is public comment. Does anyone here wish to speak about something that's not on our agenda tonight? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. The next is approval not required plans. We have a couple here. Has everyone had a chance to review these? Go up to the office and review them?
Yes.
You all have? Okay, the first one is Lisa Lyden on Dusty Miller Road. Hear a motion to endorse?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
That's the plan right here, this, that you
Yep.
see. Does both parties to the change of the lot lines, are they both aware of this?
Yes, it sounds like they are, yeah.
Okay. Aye.
Okay. All right. So, all in favor? Yep.
Yep.
Opposed? None? Okay, next, applicant
Yeah?
Matthew Churchill, plan of land to combine lots 279 and 278 on Trotting Park Road. We've all been up to talk to Tom about this and understand what's going on?
I haven't been up to talk to him.
Okay, well, if you need a minute to look at the plan, it's basically taking away the line in the middle and combining it into one.
Yeah.
He can go and record this plan if he wanted to without us endorsing it. All set?
I'm all set.
Motion to endorse, so moved.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. Next item on the agenda. Applicant Patricia Harris. Site plan review, application for accessory apartment within a single-family residence located at 181 Percival Road. Plan, we have, do we have a draft discussion? Drafted motion?
And we had corrections sent to us?
Yeah, we do.
Yes. And I don't see a copy of that.
We have the motion, but we don't have the correction.
Do you remember what the corrections were?
There were quite a few, all in red.
So that, you're saying they're not incorporated into this motion that we have?
I really can't tell.
Let me just pull it
It-
up on my phone and
Yeah,
I'll tell you if this is the same.
I should be able to find.
There were
a
further
couple.
conditions attached on the one that was up in the office today,
Right.
Yeah.
and they're not here. That's too bad.
Yeah, it kind of edited out our comments about referring to the Board of Health. Yeah.
There appears to have been just an oversight on the part of the office of
Oh,
not
do you
giving
wanna
us the
table it?
updated one.
For now, and see if we can,
I think you have to.
see if we can resolve this?
Yeah. If,
I think that's a good idea.
is there any way we could get,
First, let's get a motion to table it.
well, could we get a, if we table it, are we tabling it till the next meeting, or?
Well, whenever.
Tabling, because my question is if we can get somebody to
Well, I was gonna try to see if we could get somebody, yeah.
get something printed out for this
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah, we have time to do that if somebody
So
wants.
I'd make a motion to take it out of order on the agenda. That we,
Well, first, we need to table it right now, right?
There's nobody upstairs.
But there's no one there now. Who is-
What's his name?
Corey?
Corey is here, he's working
Oh, he's-
historic, so
yeah.
I was thinking we
Okay.
could go, somebody could, I didn't get into the
Okay.
details, but I could
Okay.
think it, if we table this for now, somebody can go, we get into discussion, somebody wants to walk away from the discussion, go find Corey and do this, we could,
Okay.
okay, if you wanna do that.
So I move that we table this and take it out of order in the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I'll go.
Well, where the next thing is, we're gonna have to discuss form-based code, so you can go chase it down during the discussion,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
All right. See if we can do that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is planning board discussion, the form-based code for the town of Mashpee. I want to just mention, I think we're really in luck. We are chasing probably one of the most, not chasing, but working on one of the most complicated things with form-based code and educating people and our neighbors to the east or the middle of it right now. It's on their town
Right.
bylaw for this year. So I was lucky enough to read about it in the Enterprise and went over and watched, sat through it and came back with some good information. I think there's, I want to encourage everyone to, their town meetings in October.
Thank you.
So we're gonna have, they're gonna have several hearings, as they go forward, bringing this forward and trying to discuss it to their town meeting members. So we'll all have an opportunity, if you want, to go watch. So it was pretty good.
Some of the documents sent out had form-based code for Mashpee Commons.
This is-
Yes.
Does that apply only for Mashpee Commons, or does it apply to other parts of the town?
The form-based code, as I understand it, would be far-reaching for all over town.
Changes?
Because for any area that they establish a master plan for the area, and then they have, the 5 or 6 types of properties, like, some of them are gonna be for rural areas. If you saw the package, it's not, like the Enterprise said something, it's greater density, not necessarily. Form-based coding could be for conservation land. It's just what you wanna see on the land. And it's more about people than cars, and how to access, the property and make it safer, whereas in the past, everything was roads and parking lots, so.
Well, when I read through it, I thought it was specific for Mashpee Common.
It is,
And the other thing I thought was interesting is they had some graphics in there that help you understand what they were talking about. I thought it was pretty well done, the
right.
draft.
It is, I guess what I learned is I always thought that Mashpee Commons was all form-based code and that's how they did it. That's not true. That's all variances. Everything they've done there, they've done on variances, and now they're trying to do form-based code because they've got what they like and they want to extend it to more land.
I want to thank you for sending us the video so that we could see the same spiel that they were seeing on their planning board, and they could
Yeah.
really get it. It was almost like selling form-based code to that board, although they had to have already bought into it or the guy wouldn't have been there. But he was doing a really, really great job. So it was good to listen to, very good to listen to. And yet I learned more from the code itself, the booklet, that we could download
Right.
and start going through, and it's very dense. There's an enormous amount in it, and a lot of good parts that we can sort of discuss. But when you put those two things together, the
You can kinda see how
presentation
it's-
and the code,
Yeah.
with the Enterprise editorial this past Friday, they had 2 editorials, and the second one was on, they were calling it form code, not form-based code, and advising us to hold public hearings, strangely enough. So that's wind, it's not news to us, but it's wind in our sails. It's really
Well,
an excellent thing.
It's funny, I knew about the public hearing in Mashpee from reading about it in the Enterprise.
Right.
And I saw all the Enterprise reporters there, and they all saw the same presentation I did.
Yeah, and can see that it's a really terrific thing. And I think what's confusing, and where does this apply to? I think there's actually a terrific book, and it's available up in the planning office, and not knowing the town already owned one, I bought one. So now we've got 2 copies of this. It was put out in 2009. It's form-based code, And first it gives a history of zoning to begin with, and where does this fit within that history? And it goes through what is it, why would you do it, and then the process for getting from here to there, and then a whole pile of examples that have already been put into place. So it's a really useful kind of book, and it would appear that what Mashpee is doing, they kind of backed into it by creating an example first, the developer did. Right, so that they already have people saying, that's really great, we like it, but everyone in Falmouth can go over to Mashpee and see it too. So this helps us as much as them. And the plan that's there that you couldn't tell where it fits, apparently is called floating code, so that it will fit wherever they want it to fit in town,
Right.
according to this book.
Well,
anyway.
if you go into it, they have like 5 different areas. Like, here's what it's gonna be like on a busy street, on 28.
Yeah.
And here's what it should look like in a side street. And here's what it looks like in a residential neighborhood. So they have different forms and shapes for each one of those
Because they do
areas.
transects,
And
they're
then,
called.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
you decide where they want them.
So that it works out so that there's a good transition. You don't go from Route 151,
Right.
everyone going 60 miles an hour illegally, of course, and all trees, to downtown. You have a transition so that you go smoothly from one to another over quite a distance, which
Yeah,
is
to
really
Transition
great.
from rural to single family to mixed use and then to.
Yeah, they've got 6 that they set up, but you can do special ones, but then in addition, you can also do variances and so forth.
You know what I found really interesting is, I was looking at it as what a dream come true when you have all open space and you're starting from scratch with form-based zoning,
Right.
where you can do exactly what you're talking about. You go down 151, as opposed to
Look at that.
Look at that,
Yeah.
great.
trying to fit it in to, something that's almost all built out, and that you're looking to, as things become vacant and you want to take them down and redo them. I mean, it's so different, starting from scratch. It's like a fantasy that you can make come true.
Right,
And I thought the guy was such a character. I mean, I enjoyed
Oh,
listening
yeah.
to him and talking about how you have your hair done and the clothes you wear, and I got as much of a kick out of him as I did about but I agree, I looked at I didn't have 128 pages that I could print out without killing my printer. So is there any way, Jim, that we could have the planning department, could they ever print out all of those pages for us?
Absolutely. You could just ask them to do it, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I thought there was some,
I think Tom likes to control it a little bit, but if you ask.
well, it wasn't Tom. I mean, I haven't even asked Tom, but I thought beforehand, we couldn't do that.
No, well, you have to see some of it.
I think one issue that makes it a little different, I think, is it's my understanding that Mashpee Commons is owned by one owner. He owns the entire area, so they're working with one owner, which I think makes it a little bit different.
Right, but what they're going through now, though, is different than that. They actually are talking about applying this to other areas of land, that they're not the same owner. I mean, that they could apply this as a floating code anywhere in town. So you're right, that's the way it started. So that's not the way it is.
The other thing that's amazing in that document of the Mashpee Code, of what a remarkable change in authorities given to the planning department under it, in the administration of once you have it, in its administration, because so much of it is now predictable. Being predictable is one of its goals, so that developers know in advance what they can do and what they can't do, and the planning board's role in it really is to have created that opportunity and deal with variances. The building inspector then becomes really the approval source.
Yes,
Yes,
But-
it changes that,
but there's tremendous amount of work on the planning side beforehand.
exactly.
That's where all the work is done. Instead of waiting for the developers to come in with all these different ideas, the planning board and then the town lays out, this is what the shapes and look we want here, and this is what we want here, and they work it all out,
And where it will be applied.
and where it will be
So
applied.
that if we were to go down that route, which I guess we're definitely going to do, then, and we say Davis Straits now, the building inspector then would be left to implement most of it if we follow the Mashpee and the form-based code pattern. But we would be thinking about, well, where next? And how would that work? And working the process for that.
And I think the important thing to, what I took out of that, is the difference between what we do now with formula-based coding or math that's Euclidean, you know, 50% of this, 40% of that. It becomes very determined. I mean, you know the buildings are gonna be all this height, then they go this height, and they all look the same, and you know, there's nothing exciting about it at all. Whereas form-based code, it's designed around people.
Exactly.
That's really not a
Exactly.
formula. Okay, this is where we're gonna walk. Here's where we're gonna go to the store. Here's where we're gonna live. This is the view we're gonna have. Oh, and we'll park back here, you know, and the street is gonna be safe, you know, to walk on with sidewalks, not cars buzzing back and forth like crazy and parking lots. It's all designed about making it safe and comfortable for people.
Designed around people as opposed to automobiles.
That's really, it's people-centric instead of
Right.
car-centric, yeah?
Jim, about a week ago, there were two really interesting articles in the Wall Street Journal, and I'll leave them up in the planning office for everyone to look at. But one was for multifamily districts around the country, and it says that to make it work for the developer, you have to have a minimum of 10 residential units per acre. So we had that question before, how many?
We talk about the density on it.
So a minimum of 10. And then the other article was about accessory apartment bylaws that have been passed in different communities, such as San Francisco and Denver, Boston. And they're pretty interesting, so I'll leave them upstairs. You guys can take a look at them.
So anyways,
It's interesting, I never heard of the code being Euclidean before.
I took it out of the text I sent you, I didn't make that up.
I was impressed that you knew Euclid geometry.
How
Well-
many units are there?
If you remember, we're gonna talk about measuring systems,
Okay.
and I even talked about, you gotta understand some geometry and mathematics to be able to do this job. It's not that hard, but it is a requirement.
Yeah. Evil.
Okay. So anyways, I am gonna be all over that. You're all gonna get invitations to come every time it's going on in Mashpee. What an example to watch. They're fighting. There's different sides, and you get to see it right there, and you get to say, boy, do I really want to do this?
Yeah, but they've also, been very public about it.
They have.
And I think that's. if
I
you
think
get-
everyone's buying into
I was gonna say, if you get the community buy-in,
Yeah.
it's smooth sailing.
So, but anyways, we're gonna have a great opportunity to educate ourselves without going very far at all.
Yeah.
Well, but it points out something, to me anyway, that the kind of general information that he was giving, the person who was speaking in the video, there's very little that we need to do in order to get ourselves to that point. If we were to design now a series of public hearings and set them up, the general ones could start now. We don't have to wait till we have everything ready.
No, we
because
can
there's-
piggyback on what they're doing,
we can
exactly.
piggyback on what they're doing, and all of this started actually a couple of decades ago. This isn't brand new, there's a lot written on it, there are a lot of people who could speak on it. You could bring in, we could bring in a variety of speakers, and in effect, we would be kind of auditioning the consultants who might be doing our code. And most of the code now is written from templates, it's not written de novo. You don't have to start from scratch at all.
Right.
So it's gotten cheaper and cheaper.
We got Latin going on here too.
Yeah, you mentioned
It's
that
not
there
gonna
was
tease
some,
me, though.
you mentioned there was some controversy. What's the basis of the opposition to
Well-
form-based coding up to date?
Well, it was really just all, what I understood, it was just political, that whose job it is to do what. And some people had said, we're gonna do this, and the other people said, no, that's our job. I think they're gonna sort it out. And I think that was just a little
So it
bit.
wasn't philosophical, it was just.
No, I don't think so.
It's territory.
It was territory, And I think the selectmen maybe said that, oh, we can just approve this and it goes. But the planning board has to approve all the forms and all the hearings, so there's, you know,
Yeah.
there was a simplification. There was some stuff written in the newspaper that was just a simple oversimplification, and it got them very upset, and it was fun to watch them sort it out. So, it was really good, really good.
What would you think then of beginning to plan a series of educational meetings, really? They're not even hearings, they're just presentations.
Well, you know, that's how we did the accessory apartment bylaw. We started having special hearings at the Herman Room and inviting town meeting members to do it. I'm gonna go to school till October with Mashpee, and then we'll set up a game plan. We don't have to do anything. I think we can watch them for a while. But yes, to answer your question, in fact, I'm actually become friends with their town planner, and he's the one that shared that information with me. That was a presentation that was given to the Mashpee Planning Board.
So you're thinking of starting then in the fall, here in Falmouth?
Oh, boy, you're gonna tie me down.
I was thinking of it, yeah.
I think there's a lot to do to get through.
Get through town meeting. I think
is-
my goal is,
No, this isn't about having anything to present to town meeting. This is about educating the
Oh, no, no.
public.
no,
I-
just, I'm
About-
just saying, all the
Just-
stuff we have to do between now and town meeting, I think our agenda's pretty full. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of public hearings that'll have to happen. We have, well, unless we defer, unless things get deferred, we'll have to wait and see. We have a lot of agendas, things that are coming at us that may have to be postponed, like the whole zoning code.
But I do think Charlotte's got a point, which is, we're now wanting, I think, to get out to the public. There is a new form-based code that we'd like to introduce you to. And how do we go about doing that? We could do it maybe with a series of articles in the Enterprise to start with. Hijack that first meeting from the Mashpee Planning Board. I thought that was a terrific introduction for someone who knows nothing about form-based code. I mean, it was just about people versus heavy-duty equipment.
It is, and it really wouldn't be any extra work for us. It would be enlisting the planning department to set up some dates and find the speakers for it. If we're to the point that our local paper is advising us, the planning
Well,
board, to hold,
Except the local paper is how I found out about it. I guess I read about it in the paper.
no,
the
I'm
whole-
talking about the editorial.
No, I know, but they said, what is form-based code? But I learned about form-based code from reading the Falmouth Enterprise.
It's in our local comprehensive plan.
Yeah,
I,
so
It's
I
been in the
don't,
plan now for a while, for a couple of years, actually, so this isn't speedy.
no. I don't disagree, and I just think have had lots of conversations with Tom about other agenda items in the next few weeks, and I don't see form-based code coming up in the next few weeks, is what I'm,
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be part of this meeting if you're going to make an introduction to the public about it.
oh, except I have made it my goal to be the champion of this, and I'm the one that wants to do it, and it's my workload.
Oh, so there.
To go to a meeting? To go to a hearing?
No, to have a hearing and to have a presentation, and I'd like to do it.
Yeah.
I'm
would
not
too.
gonna do it before town meeting, is what I'm saying,
Okay.
because there's too many other things going on, that's all. You wanna do it right away?
This is July, the town meeting is in November,
Right.
then you're into the Christmas season, not the best time to begin an
have-
education program.
Okay,
And
let's
then
get
your
through, let's get
Valentine's
through the couple of joint meetings that are coming up, and you see all the other things. I'm aware of some things I haven't discussed with you all yet. There's a lot of agenda items coming up. I just don't see this. I think it's more important to focus on the accessory apartment bylaw and get that straightened out, and as well as the changes in our zoning code. You know, for 2 years, we've had these consultants working on the updating of the code. I think all those things come first.
Do we have a date? I mean, I know they threw out one date, which we thought was very close to town meeting.
I believe the last conversation I had with Tom, they're talking about deferring it now, not being ready.
Yeah, because it was like August 28th or
Yeah.
something, and
So I don't disagree with you, but maybe we should have a strategy meeting with, when Tom's here, about all the other things that have to be done. And you'll,
Okay.
because I have had that conversation with him and I didn't see.
Well, it would be practical to build an annual calendar and see where it fits, because surely before next July, we would want to have started on it. And unless we plan a time for that, it might not.
I agree. Well, let's all try to go to the next zoning meeting they have in Mashpee together and see how it goes.
Okay?
And then we'll
Do you
come
know-
back with even
You
more
don't know when it
information.
is yet?
I don't know, but they'll let us know for sure.
Okay.
And you'll let us know.
I'm gonna keep it a secret.
They're gonna print it in the Enterprise.
I'd like to make a motion that we go back to the original agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None?
Okay, what I have from Corey is, this one here is the corrected one. It's the original one with the corrections.
Yeah.
Okay? Then the other one is all the corrections done for this motion.
So that's the one we really
So
need.
this is the one we really need.
Okay.
But I had them do both so you could see where the corrections were.
Why
Thank
don't
you.
you just read the
The
motion,
main motion?
the motion that we have.
Okay. 7/5/18 draft motion that the planning board vote to approve the application of Patricia Harris under Article 39, site plan review of the zoning bylaw for a plan entitled Mortgage Inspection Plan prepared by RAS Associates dated November 14th, 2009, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, one sheet, along with floor plans drawn by Jason Sullivan Construction LLC, 3 sheets, with the following findings and conditions. Findings: the applicant, Patricia Harris, seeks to permit an existing apartment within the walkout basement of the primary residence located at 181 Percival Road into a 608.5 square foot accessory apartment with associated parking. The subject parcel is 31,319 square feet and zoned agricultural B, AGB, with the primary land use as a single-family residence. The total square footage of the principal structure is 2,209 square feet. The percentage of the total floor area of the accessory apartment in relation to the total floor area of the principal dwelling is 27.55%. The bedroom count of the single-family residence will remain at 3, with 1 bedroom in the accessory apartment, 1 on the first floor, and a master bedroom on the second floor, for a total of 3 bedrooms. The planning board's design review is restricted to the exterior of the building and deferred to the building commission as to issues related to building code, including but not limited to egress and separation from the proposed apartment floor plan and the surrounding space within the primary residence. The subject property is located in the Great Pond Coastal Overlay and Water Resource Protection Districts. Findings pursuant to section 240-381I, 3 of the zoning bylaw. A, only 1 accessory apartment shall be allowed per lot, and the above referenced application and plans comply with this requirement. B, either the principal dwelling or accessory apartment must be owner occupied for a period of 7 months in every calendar year, or owned by a nonprofit organization or government authority whose purposes is to provide affordable housing. Testimony from attorney Jeffrey Oppenheim is that the applicant is a year-round resident who resides in the dwelling at 181 Percival. The board will condition its decision accordingly. C, either the principal dwelling or accessory apartment may be rented, but not both during the 5 months the owner occupant may be absent. Rental periods shall be no less than 6 months, and weekly, monthly rentals, summer rentals so-called, are expressly prohibited. Neither the principal dwelling nor accessory apartment shall be used as commercial accommodations at any time. The board will condition its decision accordingly. D, the accessory apartment shall have no more than 2 bedrooms and a maximum of 800 square feet of floor area, or 40% of the floor area of the principal dwelling, whichever is less. The above reference plan shows only 1 bedroom within the accessory dwelling unit, and that the accessory dwelling unit is 608.55
So
square
that
feet.
could stop right there, that is an incorrect number. It is actually 798, or just under 800. And it's because they were arguing about the measurement system and measuring the outside lines.
Yeah.
And this house has a giant chimney, and they excluded that from their measurements. And so when I sat with Tom, he redid it, and he came up with under 800.
Okay.
So not, he had, the square footage is different, but he came with 7, just, I'm gonna specify that it is under 800. He
Okay.
did verify that, but not the 600 number. because that measuring system was wacko.
Yeah,
If you recall the plan, you guys remember the plan at all?
Yeah.
It had a great big hearth and fireplace in the middle, and they didn't count any of that. You gotta measure from the outside, not the inside measurements.
So you're counting the chimney area
Yeah,
as-
everything, you measure the outside walls. That's the way we have to do it. Not taking out stairwells, not taking out other things, because we're thinking about the mass of the building.
Right. So
Okay.
So you take in
The outside-
closets, bathrooms, everything.
Outside
All the
dimensions.
outside. Okay.
Everything's measured from the outside.
okay, so that number will change?
It's just less than 800, 790 something.
You don't have to put any number in there, just say that
Yeah.
We verify it's
Less
less
than-
than
Yeah.
800,
the unit's less than 40%.
yes.
Yeah, that the unit is less, okay, so just strike that. Of the floor area of the principal structure and the 800 square foot maximum allowed, all in compliance with this requirement. E, the total number of bedrooms on the lot shall not exceed 4 when the lot contains less than 20,000 square feet. The lot contains 31,319 square feet of upland. The existing dwelling, as shown on the plan submitted, has a total of 3 bedrooms, 1 in the walkout basement accessory dwelling unit, 1 on the first floor, and the master bedroom on the second floor. Therefore, based on the lot size and the total number of bedrooms, 3, this requirement is not applicable. F, for any accessory apartment located on a lot subject to the provisions of the Water Resource Protection or Coastal Pond Overlay Districts, total number of bedrooms in the principal dwelling and accessory apartment shall not exceed 1 bedroom per 10,000 square feet of lot area unless the principal dwelling and accessory apartment are connected to the municipal sewer system or to an on-site septic system with enhanced nitrogen removal approved by the Board of Health. The total number of bedrooms in the principal dwelling and accessory apartment is 3. The lot area exceeds 30,000 square feet. The board finds that this requirement has been satisfied. Additional findings. G, the board finds the architectural effect is that of single-family residence and compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and intent of the bylaw. The apartment is within the existing structure and will not require any additions or modifications of the exterior of the house. B, the board finds that adequate parking compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and as shown on the mortgage inspection plan has been provided. I, what did I say, B? I meant to say H. I, the application for the site plan review shall include the information contained in section 240-195C unless waived by the planning board. The board finds the information provided satisfactory in order to make a decision. The board waives the requirement for a full-color landscape plan. Conditions, the plan shall be constructed as approved. Any changes shall be reviewed by the planning board to determine if a modification of this decision is necessary. Pursuant to section 240-183B of the zoning bylaw, no permit for full or partial occupancy shall be issued until the planning board is satisfied that the conditions of this approval and predecessor approvals have been met. 2, either the principal dwelling or accessory apartment must be owner occupied for a period of 7 months in every calendar year or owned by a nonprofit organization or government authority whose purpose is to provide affordable housing. And an affidavit shall be submitted annually to the building commissioner signed by the property owner, attesting that the principal dwelling or accessory apartment has been owner occupied for a period of 7 months and not otherwise rented as set forth above. 3, either the principal dwelling or accessory apartment may be rented, but not both during the 5 months the owner occupant may be absent. Rental period shall be no less than 6 months, and weekly, monthly rentals, summer rentals so-called, are expressly prohibited. Neither the principal dwelling nor accessory apartment shall be used as commercial accommodations at any time. That's all she wrote.
Okay,
I thought the comments made by Attorney Oppenheim were relatively minor and really didn't change the substance of the motion. But I have to do one other comment. I've not seen us identify an attorney as testimony in the findings.
Yeah.
And I found that a little unusual. For example, under B, findings, under B, it says testimony from Mr. Attorney Jeffrey Oppenheim. I don't think that's really necessary.
Yeah.
It's testimony is that the applicant is a year-round resident. That should be sufficient.
okay. We can
So I
scratch
suggest
that.
striking from Attorney Jeffrey Oppenheim.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that,
Testimony from,
because we don't have to have an attorney testify to it, yeah.
That's right.
It should just be, oh,
We haven't
We
done that
had
in the past.
testimony, right.
yeah.
so it just should start with the applicant is a year-round.
There's testimony to that effect. That's all we have to say.
We don't need testimony of any sort.
Anybody else? You would like to say something? Please step up and identify yourself.
Pat Harris, the applicant. There was a request that the property be legally described as well by reference to the assessors map in the book and page reference. That information was sent to the planning department. I don't have it in my hands. But
Okay.
it would be helpful if the decision was specific as to the legal description of the property. Thanks.
All right.
So where can we add that?
Well, let me see, don't we have a plan?
You do.
Yeah, and it has the information on it.
I've got it.
So we can make it per the
That
plan,
shows.
make it real clear. All right?
Yeah, it's just, when it gets recorded, it's the marginal reference.
Right.
Yeah, this has the book and page on it.
Yeah, so we
Great,
refer
that's-
to the plan.
The book and page is preferable to the
Yep.
assessors map, and it's for marginal references purposes at the registry of deeds when it's recorded. Thank you.
As per the plan submitted. Well, my only comment is that math works out real right. If you have a 2,000 square foot house, you can have an 800 square foot accessory apartment.
That's what it said.
The math works out really well. Remember, we're not talking anything to do with the building codes. We have another, that's really, I think, another whole issue that, for another department to handle. But the Board of Health, I think, is coming along. You're not changing bedrooms. So that, I think they've given us some relief there. So this is all looking pretty good. Right? Everybody good?
So we had a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We did,
Motion
we
is
just
second?
didn't
All in
vote.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With the corrections.
With the corrections,
As-
yeah.
Thank you.
As amended.
As amended, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Very good.
Thank you very much for your attention.
And good luck as you move through the process. Okay, we're gonna go back to committee reports. And I had the staff send out some calculations. Did anyone have a chance to look at them?
Was it that chart that?
I gave two examples of a very simple house, how you calculate the area, and a very complex house.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
I can't remember. Yeah,
Well,
I couldn't give you an answer.
Well, anyways, I just want to point out that
I
if
did look at
anyone
it.
ever has to deal with figuring out the area of their house, with that piece of paper, they could
Yeah.
simply see, which areas count as 50%,
Yeah.
which count as 75%,
Yeah.
Right.
which count as at 90%.
Yeah.
And it's all available to you on that one piece of paper.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, no, I can.
it only comes into consequences when you're looking at second and third floors.
Yeah,
You know.
Yeah.
the-
Yeah,
the-
first
the-
floor is easy.
The first floor is no question. If everything's all on one floor, there's no issues.
yeah,
But when you're trying to figure out what is the mass of a 2 or 3 story house that has, gable roofs or a gambrel or shed dormers, that's the only issue.
yeah.
If anyone has any questions on it, I'll be glad to point it out, but I don't think we need to belabor it at all. I think
No.
it's pretty
Well, and
straightforward.
it made it clear that the cellars don't count, the basement. Because that was a 0.
They can go to the Board of Health and say to the Board of Health, we want approval to make this living space basement. If they get it, then it can be added back in.
Oh,
But the Board of
okay.
Health has to give them specific approval to do that. As it stands right now, no basement counts unless the Board of Health gives them a permit for it.
And what you sent is the same as what the assessor uses.
I would say it's what Zillow uses. I don't really know what the assessor uses.
Aha. Okay.
I think it's used by other, I get it from Zillow online.
Yeah, but Zillow takes it with town records. They don't go out and measuring each house.
Could be. It's available online, is where I get it. You're right, I'm avoiding the issue. Okay.
Another
What,
committee?
what other committee, what other things on the accessory, anyone else? Pat's been going to the accessory apartment bylaw. Anyone else been going to those meetings?
I have, but we haven't met.
Haven't met? So there's nothing new, okay.
I can give them a report.
Go ahead.
On the Coastal Resiliency Action Committee, at the end of last month, we received, or first of this month, we received a copy of the Minot Beach report done by Applied Coastal. And they're recommending both a few groins as well as beach nourishment in that area to protect the roadway. So you may want to take a look at that report. I think it's pretty interesting, but there's very specific recommendations for that area. And secondly, the request for proposal for the vulnerability assessment was deferred because the town was going to try to use the money that's been allocated for leverage to get other projects. That was denied by the state. So the board is going to go out and request a proposal for the vulnerability assessment, get that moving. Third item is the Lieutenant Governor is coming to Woods Hole for a conference on what do they call it, the floodplain zoning that we applied for. And that's Thursday at Woods Hole Research Center. So I plan to attend that.
Wow, what time is that?
11 to 2:30.
It's actually in the paper.
It's the, what do they call it? Not the vulnerability assessment, anyway, some higher ups are coming down. I thought the governor was coming, but Lieutenant Governor's coming.
Okay. The next is Davis Straits in the multifamily. I mean, I also have sent some articles. I don't know if you got them, but we're not supposed to send things amongst ourselves. So if you ever find anything, you send it to Melinda, then she sends them back out. That's to all of us. There was an article that I sent about the changing of some of the malls around the country.
Yep.
And how they're being redone. What happens is in my business, I read a lot about real estate.
Yeah.
And if I find something I think that could be helpful from us, I have to send it to them and forward it. So there's a lot of, we're not the only ones that are dealing with, these big malls that were designed for cars in the 60s.
It's national.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what to do with the ghost malls now.
What's interesting, what's
Big
going
box
on,
stores.
sorry. It's interesting what's going on in Hyannis. They're looking at the Hyannis Mall and the mall across the street, trying to redevelop that.
Right.
One across the street apparently is owned by the Airport Authority, so they're trying to redevelop that. And they just announced that Target has signed an agreement to go into the mall, apparently where Sears is. I know Sears is downsizing what exactly they're doing, but the big box stores aren't working anymore, obviously. But it'd be interesting to see the changes they're making and how they're applying those, because
Is it
it
Target?
might have some lessons for us as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that when we start having discussions and meetings, we should almost have them down in the Friendly's parking lot.
Right.
You know what it feels a little bit like? There's a sense, the survival of the fittest among those big box stores.
Yeah.
And the fact that Target is going in, it's the range of population that uses those stores. And it's very interesting. There was a analysis, actually it was the Philadelphia Inquirer. And they did the only reason, because I used to live there too.
I did too.
Anyway, so, they had multiple malls like everybody else does. And they were talking about the stores that seem to survive and stores like Macy's that are being marginalized now. They were good back then. And it's just interesting to look at, a Target is going in, Sears is going out, a Target is going in, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. If in Hyannis, weren't they talking about a hotel and some boutique stores?
Well, I don't know the details, but apparently Target is trying to target, plan of words,
No pun intended.
the audience, so it's not gonna be a full Target store, it's gonna be
Yeah.
a store that focused to people who go swimming in Cape Cod or things like that. So it's some kind of a scaled down Target, it's not gonna be
Oh.
for
It would
everyone.
be kinda useless
like
to
they
those
do
of us that actually
elsewhere.
live here. Cause you all,
Forget
we
those
just, we
people.
live in bathing suits all year round. you
Yeah,
know,
sure,
so.
especially in December.
Like the one in Wareham has food and everything else, I don't know if they're gonna do that or not, I doubt it.
How interesting.
It'll be interesting to see how the changeover intersects with the spread of the land-mounted solars. The Mashpee Commons, the Mashpee form-based zoning book didn't deal with solar at all. They haven't thought about it, or they didn't include it, or I don't know whether they thought about it or not, but it's not there, not dealt with. And if you went down to Friendly's and held the meeting there and looked at that expansive asphalt, and it fills in with solar before anything else can happen, that certainly will delay change,
Yeah.
and it will put things in the wrong place.
I was asked to sit at a meeting with Rod Palmer on the site plan review and what triggers it. And he is in agreement that if we simply change, nothing simple, if we change our site plan review from 1,000 square feet of floor area to 1,000 square feet of building, and that or structure, and then they determine that these massive steel things are structures, that they'll count to, if we change in the bylaw gets past town meeting, very simple word change, that then they'll also count in lot coverage ratios and massing and all the things that we're supposed to consider that could be done. It's only because our bylaw just didn't anticipate, the changes. This is new technology that wasn't around when we drafted it, so it could be an easy fix. But I was also telling them that I also wanted to make sure that, in case that bylaw doesn't pass, that I'm gonna bring up at another time, but I'm gonna bring up that we do talk about a moratorium, so that if in fact we can't change one, we can at least do something for 6 months until we can resolve the issue, so they don't start going in all this areas. But that's getting the cart before the horse. None of those things are on our agenda yet, but we did talk about it with Rod, and he seems to be, there's a solution in the wording, he said. So the idea was that we would not be arguing with him at town meeting, that we'd say, this is the words we recommend.
That's good. Back to Davis Straits, there've been no developments, we haven't met.
I just want to mention the Community Housing Forum. It's going to be on Thursday at the Herman Room. And should be very interesting. Karen Sondenheim, I always mispronounce her name. Should be a very good presentation, and there's actually food coming from Jack and the Beanstalk.
What time is that, Pam?
The meeting is actually, I want to say 5 o'clock or 5:30. I put down when I had to be there, so I didn't put down when the time of the actual meeting is. So maybe 5:30. I was gonna be there at 5 to help set up.
Okay,
I got one.
yes.
Earlier, you mentioned that the meeting on the update of the Code of Falmouth has been delayed. Can you give an update what that is, when that's going to happen? Because I was under the impression it was going to happen this month.
I wish I could. What I said was, I was having a meeting with Tom about scheduling things, and he told me that that was gonna be delayed, and that's as far as the conversation went. I don't have any special knowledge or anything that he'll have to,
That's disappointing, because it's something we've been waiting for a long time.
it is. But I also have learned to take your time in this job and don't run to town meeting with, until you're ready. And if they're not ready, they're not ready. We haven't had a hearing on it yet. That's what I was getting at. When we were laying out everything we're gonna do over the next few months, and there's 2 joint meetings they're talking about having with the zoning. 2.
Which one is it that's delayed?
Well, we gotta schedule both of them. None of them, they haven't quite been, I think one is scheduled, I saw an email came through, did you all see it? With a date for one of the joint meetings?
Yes.
It was like the end of this month?
Yes.
Okay, we were all available?
Yeah.
The second one hasn't been scheduled yet. But, the warrant closes in August. So things are stacking up.
Charlotte, the meeting's at 5:30.
Thank you.
When's our next meeting?
Well, I'm gonna just going through, I'm just seeing if there's anything, in the, general correspondence.
Yeah, we've been getting that email, which has been nice.
You get it? This Charles Walker sent
Yeah.
everyone a chance,
Yeah.
Philadelphia Street, everyone got to read that?
Yeah.
It was a good letter.
Okay. And, okay, next meeting,
Future agenda items?
future agenda items, okay?
We've had a couple of discussions in the past about trying to meet with the East Falmouth Village Association, and they're having their annual meeting, I think either the 19th or 22nd.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to try to get on their agenda.
We are on the agenda.
You're on, okay.
I've been
Wonderful.
neglected to tell you, but I've gone to,
You told everybody but me?
no, I just didn't mention anybody.
When is it?
Oh, okay.
It's coming up in a couple of weeks.
When did you say?
I think it's the 19th or 22nd.
I actually went to one of their planning sessions about 2 weeks ago with Doug Brown
Okay.
and talked about what would be on the agenda, and I said all our board members will be invited to come. We should all, if we all want to come, we all come.
Yeah.
And I was just planning on talking about the process, how we go to the Cape Cod Commission, we have them come in and do a study, have hearings with the neighborhood, find out what the neighborhood wants, what kind of buildings do they want in the future there, what do they think of some of the zoning, and take the input from the local people, and then build it up from there. And I didn't want them to be afraid that we're gonna come in and tell them what they have to do.
Sure.
You know, we're gonna get the Cape Cod Commission to do what they want.
But
And
as a board, we're on their agenda?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and you don't have the date yet?
I do, I just don't remember what it
Okay.
is.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Is that an evening meeting?
You'll
Yes,
send that to us.
7
Yeah.
o'clock, I believe.
Where do they hold their meetings, East Falmouth School?
It's going to be at St. Anthony's Church, is what I heard.
You'll send us or somebody will send us an email?
I'll get it.
Okay,
But we've been saying, we're gonna do this for about 2 or 3 years.
yeah,
Well, it's about time then.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Doug Brown, actually, I kept going after him, and they weren't even having a meeting, or they didn't have anything on the agenda, so I made them to have a special meeting on it, so
Good.
be going on pretty good. Any other agenda items? Next meeting, July 24th? Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Do we have to put on the agenda, in order to have something happen, that the Bob and Bob are going to let us know where they are on the zoning?
We
Like a
will,
brief update by Bob and Bob?
Right.
well, I don't know if I can command a brief update by them, but
No, not by them.
we
but
can get it on the agenda for it to be discussed, to be
That's
reported
all.
on, yes.
Right.
so- wait a minute.
I'm sorry I didn't have a particular report on it, I just heard about it in passing.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All done, thank you very much.